Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at both generations of the Gemmy Burgundy Butler as it's widely known. Now this item is really one of the first real variants of a Butler that Gemmy ever produced. You know, Butler Wade was the first one in 2004, and that was really the first 6-foot character that Gemmy had made with that collapsing structure we know so well today. And you know, Butler Wade was first in 2004, and this guy was first in 2005. And he initially went through a good amount of revisions. Even the one on the box is drastically different from the one that you see on the left, and especially the right. But I got this in the mail today, the one on the left that is. The one on the right I've had on my channel for almost the entire history of my channel, just shy of like a couple years. So he's been in a lot of videos, he's been around a lot of collectors, he's been around on this channel for a while. The one on the left is not even a full 24 hours in my possession. So it's really fascinating to see both of them here. You know, there's only a few videos of the first gen on YouTube, maybe like a little more than 5 in total, and that includes videos with things in displays and whatnot. So there's just not that many videos of him altogether. And some of the videos of him, it's in pretty rough shape. Like the hair is often missing, for example. So you're going to get to see both of these in their entirety today. And I gotta say, it really is interesting seeing the one on the left in person after all these years. But as you can see from afar, there's a lot of cosmetic differences between these, like a lot. The 2005 Butlers and some wrapping Butlers have a higher quality fabric for the clothing. Not necessarily the vest, that's about the same, but the rest of the clothing. You'll also see that the one on the left does not have a purple button on the base. You'll see that the color of the outfits is a little different. You'll even see that the skin color is a little different between the characters here. And there's really just so many little differences to point out. And what's really interesting is the one on the left is one of 2 released life sizes with no purple button, but that have the microphone and aux and all of that. This guy and Party Monster. And those are the first ones. And there are only about 6 total released life sizes with this base, which is kind of crazy to think about. You have 1st gen Burgundy Butler, 1st gen Wade, which has a shiny base. Then you have 2nd gen Wade talking, 2nd gen Wade no talking. Then you have the Edwardian Butler with top hat, Party Monster, Freddy Krueger. So that's all of the released ones. And for all of the 2006 characters that were prototyped, they would have not had the purple button either. So that's why in a lot of the stock photos for the Creature or Dr. Shivers, things like that, you'll see that there's no purple button because the earlier prototypes, earlier samples did not have that. But that's just a little fun fact that's not completely relevant to this video, but I figured I would share it. But let's go ahead and move in a little closer. So we'll start off with the one in the box, which it's really convenient that this has the box. It was shipped in the original box and it got kind of banged up a little bit. He popped up in shipping. They had the locking pins included, but did not use them, which is just really wonderful. But what is really nice is that there's this bag. It has the microphone, instructions, aux cord, and all of those individual little bags in there. All seems pretty mint condition overall. Then you have the adapter box and the adapter which is plugged into them, and the locking pins, as you can see. And then you have the trays for both of them. I decided not to put the trays on for the video so you could really see all of the differences. But with that all out of the way, this is the first, well, not the first, trust me, this is one of the earlier samples. Initially, this guy started out with just a regular Butler head, and then they got into the moving mouth ones. So this guy, this head here is a different head. You might recognize this from some of my previous videos. This is the Scrooge head and the Creature head. And it's the head used on the Butler silver platter head thing. I could have said that better. But that's why the forehead looks really big here. That's why it's kind of differently proportioned and all of that, different nose, all of those fun things. So you've got that, which is a big difference. You've got gray hair. And if you've ever heard Crimson Butler, that was something that I coined many years ago, probably close to around 2015. And it was one built like this in a really small factory photo, and it looked really different. I called it the Crimson Butler because of the vest. The vest colors are inverted. So as you can see, it's majority like crimson with the vest and then the little gold. But here it's the opposite. It's majority gold and then it's a little of the burgundy color, which it's the same color as the rest of, the outfit. So that's a big difference there. Because this is just crimson. It's a completely different color than that. This one also has the shiny base like the 2004 Butler Wade does. So then, a lot of the early 2005 prototypes got the shiny base, like the Scrooge in the pajamas has it, early Creature has it, things like that. There he is collapsed. And this one was made exclusively for May department stores, which actually closed in 2005. Like in August of 2005, the merger with Macy's department stores began. So a lot of these probably were just kind of clearanced off. And this was a department store, and it retailed for a whopping $335 in 2005. And it's funny because the gray-haired Butler at Kroger in 2007 was $99. So quite the jump there. One other small difference to point out here is that there is this golden trim along the pockets and cuffs, all those little gold dots. That is not on either produced model. Now moving to the produced models, probably some of the bigger differences between them is the little amulet here. This is gold, and then for 2006 they just recycled the silver one using all of the other Butlers. And then beyond that, you've got a material difference. As you can see, there's slightly different colors. This is more of a, one of them's more burgundy, one of them's more maroon. This one's also kind of got a more glossy look to it. And it just feels really nice. It just feels fancy and high-end. And this was a deluxe Butler. It was often referred to that by retailers. So that's probably why the price was justified back then, for it being that much higher, because it was just that nicer. This is actually a slightly lighter color than this. This is a little more brown. And you can just hear when I move this around, it's quiet, and this is louder. So this has a more rigid, kind of plasticky nylon fabric, and this has a softer, quieter one. It's a higher quality fabric with even that. And then this feels about the same, just different shades of color. And then of course, this is nicer overall than this. Not saying this is a bad material by any means. This, it's hard to see light through it. It just feels nicer and fancier. The boots are really different. So this is that material that almost the Phantom is made out of. Like, this is extremely soft feeling. Like, this feels a little more coarse, but it's a similar material. This is really soft, like the Phantom's cloak. So these boots are very nice. They're also very pliable and just loose. Other things with the boots, it's got kind of a backing on the inside there, so it holds its shape. With this, it's just like really loose there. And then we'll go to the head. I already mentioned the skin tone thing for the hands and the heads, but you might be wondering, why is the hair so weird on this one? Why is it placed like that? That's, that's not really natural at all. It's because they basically kept the same hair placement from this one. And with this one, like with the Creature early prototype, like with Scrooge, there was that seam of where this head was connected to the original Butler neck. And so the hair was placed along the seam. That's why the forehead looks so big, because the hair could have been farther forward or farther backward, but they just placed it right along the seam. And for some reason in production, they left it there. So that is why the hair is in that placement, and it's kind of hard to kind of sit it right, because you don't know, should it go all the way back, should it go forward? And you know, there's no hair in the back at all, really. It's basically that same hair pattern, but it's attached in a different spot. From the front, though, you might enjoy how it looks better. But that is one thing that I think is better on the second gen. It just kind of makes a little more sense. The mask is really thick for this. It's much thicker than most other Gemmy masks I've encountered. I mean, like, for example, you can see the nose there. I can kind of, you know, move it around a lot. And with this nose, there's a lot less to work with. So it's a really thick mask, so when you grip it, it kind of feels like skin, because there's so much there where it feels like it's slightly moving, but it's not. So that's a really neat effect. His one eye is faded. When the blue eyes fade, they can sometimes turn either green or brown. The mouth on the inside is painted black. With this one, it's, you know, slightly darker than the rest of the skin tone. Another thing is, I just want to quickly point this out, these both fully work. The only thing I've ever repaired on either of them was the head turn for this one, and it was working, it was just really loud. So both of these have really just never given up. You know, they're both still fully working, 2005, 2006, which I have to say is very impressive for their age. Maybe it's just the way Burgundy Butlers are built, I don't know. What's interesting is, you can see the lining for this really matches. And with this one, it's like a brighter red, kind of similar, but not quite. And it matches a little more with this. But you see, that's still darker. Then of course you get to the base here. I'm trying not to make this too long, it's just there's a lot of differences, you know. With the bases, you know, this has no purple button and the collapse pedal in the front. This does. The whole reason for the button is because in the buyers, you know, in the showroom, they would push the collapse pedal to try and activate it. But you can see in the back there, you know, there's all of the different functions. This takes a 9-volt 1.5, that's what came with it, and this says on the base it takes a 9-volt 1200 milliamp. This still has all of the features, but it's, you know, the more common one you'd see. The boots, aside from material, it looks pretty much the same. That's really all of the differences, physically speaking. I think it's really cool to see both of them. I've always wanted to see them next to each other, because I was always thinking, wow, this one's color with the coat is so much brighter and more vibrant. It's like a completely different color than the second gen. And in some lighting it's kind of similar, but in this lighting you can really tell just how different they are. But I'm going to do one at a time, and then I'm going to play both, and you'll get to see just how they are in activation. So we'll start off with the first gen here.
Are you sure you want to do that? Who dares take my candy? We'll just see what happens the next time you do that. Happy Halloween. Trick or treat. And here's your trick.
So I really couldn't be happier with the way that one was working. As you saw, everything was super quiet even, wasn't even loud. So just excellent condition with the mechanics on this one. With this one, the head turn is a little louder, but that's also because it moves faster. And the eyes are getting towards split a little bit, but they still haven't, which, you know, given the age, there's no reason to complain. Another thing I just remembered though is the head shell on this one is the black plastic, and on this one it's the white. I believe it's white. And you know, that's just not like it's not a preference based on the color, it's just the quality. The black plastic tends to get more brittle over time, so you'll see that with older Cauldron Witch heads and whatnot, and even the first gen of the World Chucky. You know, that stuff can just kind of crumble at a certain point. So that's why they eventually switched on the white plastic to all of the stuff. But it's just really brittle. But yeah, now we're going to activate the second gen. And by the way, another thing I remember as I'm talking, both of these are only motion activated. Because of the extra expense for the materials and the head and all of that, there's no sound sensor, there's just the motion. We'll plug this guy in.
Are you sure you want to do that? Who dares take my candy? We'll just see what happens the next time you do that. Happy Halloween. Trick or treat. And here's your trick.
So that's the second gen. And now I will plug in the first and hopefully get them somewhat in sync. Here we go.
Are you sure you want to do that?
I believe the volumes are at a similar level.
Who dares take my candy? We'll just see what happens the next time you do that.
Great.
We'll just see what happens the next time you do that.
I honestly think this one has less compressed sound, which is cool.
Halloween. Trick or treat. And here's your trick. Are you sure you want to do that? Who dares take my candy? We'll just see what happens the next time you do that. Happy Halloween. Trick or treat. And here's your trick.
So there they are. They're pretty much the exact same pitch. This one might be a tiny bit higher. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about these. If you guys want to know more details about the prototype ones, I mean, there's ones even earlier than the one in the box, you could comment down below, and those are called development stories. I did one on Dr. Shivers, and I can always do one on other characters as well if there's enough requests. Because, you know, I have to put everything together and think of what all to say and whatnot. But yeah, those are the first and second gen Deluxe Edwardian Butlers with moving mouth, Burgundy Butler, whichever you want to call it. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.